see you drink drinks. That's about it.
Hi, I'm Matthew Shang. I've been living in Singapore for 25 years. I've worked for people, I've had my own company, I've sold my company, and I've recently restarted a practice called MSDO with my partner, Paul Semple. And we started designing bars 8 years ago. Really loved the bar community. They're fun, they're interesting, they're generous. And our first project as MSDO was Junior Bars. So
yeah, Junior, the pocket bar was the bar that I used to do on those. Changes concept every 6 months, so they had a lot of work to do. So we're going to break down to 3 simple structures. Like, there are many aspects to opening a bar, whether it's a cocktail bar, a pub, or even a hotel lobby. We're going to try to summarize it in 3 parts, leaning more towards the design aspect of things from form versus function, but then also some things that are a bit less tangible we will touch on. So we're going to break it into the pre-opening phase, what to look out for, the execution phase, the actual build-up, and the building of the bar, and last but not least, what do you do when you have the bar already built. So the secret sauce is 4 points. Number 1, have you done your homework? Like, meaning to say, and then what is the model and style of the bar you want to create? Your concepts. And what do you want to do with this? And last but not least, have you got the resources to do this? So, number 1, have you done your homework?
So, are you really ready? Like, have you got a site? Is the site the right place for the right market? Why are you doing this? Like, what are you trying to get out of it? And there's so many different things that you can get out of owning a bar, but you have to have your reasons, and they have to, be the right ones.
Like on that point, for example, some people like to open bars for ego. We call it ego bars. They come to a point where they feel that they have enough reputation, they want to have something that they call their own, which is nothing wrong. Some people open the bars because they want to build a portfolio of venues, and a particular bar is just there to win accolades and awards. Again, nothing wrong. But I think most of us, when we open bars, one of the things that we look for is, first and foremost, the financials. And I think that's the most important thing that we tend to overlook. When you actually start getting to opening a bar, you notice very quickly that if you're not sure how you're going to make money, you're almost certainly you're gonna fail to some extent. Because if you don't sell drinks and you don't make cash, your bar is not going to survive. So you got to do your homework to know what you want for. And then it leads to modern style part 1. Again, when it comes to that point, working with the designer is very important because you need to create the vibes. Something that you have in your mind, an imagination, that concept, that idea. How do you make it tangible? And who are you catering it to? You need to know your target audience. Are you looking for young people between 19, 20 years old to 26 years old who wants to go to a club? Like Matt is designing a new club in Raffles now. Are you looking for sophisticated, educated drinkers who are sitting between the age of the late 20s to the early 40s with disposable income? You need to know who you're catering to and then create a concept to kind of lead towards that.
Nope. Sorry. I think that's pretty good.
And last, why are you going to do this? Again, it goes back to what's it for? Is it to fulfill a lifelong dream? Is it to make money? Because you're going to make money. I'm used to you, man. We don't make a lot of money, to be honest. We do okay, but we don't really make a lot of money. So you have to have another reason for why you want to do it. Whether it's passion, whether it's just something you want to do to give back to the community. If you want to create a venue that helps mentor young bartenders, or a venue that plays a specific part in your current bar industry, your community, that's giving something different than what is already there. Because if, let's just say you already have 20 cocktail bars based on like classic cocktails, are you going to open another New York classic cocktail style bar in the city? Does it make sense? Or should you open something that gives a bit of dynamics that improves your overall bar community? And last but not least, the most important, have you got the resources to do this?
Well, I think that's a lot of, that covers a lot of things. So have you got the personal resource, have you got the energy and the drive to actually see it through? Because I think often, by the time you just build the project, you're exhausted. You could be burnt out, and you could be burnt out of money and resource, resource to do it. So what is, have you got that built-in energy for the next step post this process?
One of the things that, again, we talk about finance quite a bit is cash flow. A lot of people put in their hard-earned life savings and they have the initial amount to start the bar, but realize they haven't accounted for the next few months of actually running the bar. And then they find themselves in a financial situation with 3 months opening. Because you rarely make money right off the bat when you open a bar, unless your employees only. That was amazing. But generally you don't really make money till 3 or 6 months later before you start getting some cash back. So you need to have the resources to do that. And like Matt also mentioned, the physical capacity for it. If you have 6 things going on in your life, I'm telling you, opening the bar is the last thing you want. It's gonna suck your soul because you will be living there day in and day out. And unfortunately, that's the work you need to put in the incubation phase. So go shows.
Weirdly enough, a few bars that we've designed, people have been having babies at the same time. It's like, just focus on this baby.
My business partner Joel asked, yes, we did the rest of the work. But so these are the few checkpoints that we always strongly encourage people to check through first before you take the leap in opening your bar. Now, Matt's going to run through some of the successes that you guys will probably know and show you basically how he went from looking at something like this to something that you'll be more familiar with.
So the first bar I worked on was Manhattan Bar. That was done in conjunction with Proof, and it was one of their first consultancies. They worked directly with Paul Gabby and Spencer. And, this was a huge learning for me as well. So it was a huge sort of growth for me as a designer. And basically we started from a soft refurbishment, in inverted commas, of a sports bar, which was at the Regent, the then Regent, now Conrad, which was a tired 25-year-old sports bar. So, basically when Proof were engaged, we're just going to sort of do a superficial revamp and improve the cocktail program. But that's not the case. So it went from this to that. And really, the secret in it was there was a huge alignment from the whole team. And I think this is really the secret sauce for any successful project. So from the food and beverage director, which was Martin Dell at the time, who was incredibly enthused about this. And he had the vision to say, within 1 year, this will be in the top 50 in the world. Within 2 years, this will be in the top 10. And incredibly, he achieved it. And what's great about Martin was he brought everyone into that energy and into that journey. So, which importantly included the owners. So, 8 years ago, it was a pretty sort of small scene in Singapore, as opposed to now, where 28 Hong Kong Street was one of the sort of the greats there, one of the few real cocktail bars. So one of the learnings was just educating all of us on the difference between a hotel cocktail and a real cocktail. So I really vividly remember Z and Michael Callahan demonstrating in front of the client, in front of the ownership, the difference between the two. And it was incredible in that 1 hour demonstration, 3 drinks later, they had sold it. So we'd gone from a small revamp to a full refurbishment. And obviously, it was celebrating the main concept, which was very strong, was celebrating the barman, bringing him to the fore. And one of the interesting things that I learned was, it was about bringing the golden age of cocktails back. And part of my process is creating a narrative. So I learned that the golden age of cocktails was the 1880s and Jerry Thomas and the heroes of bartending in New York. And so we tried to bring that essence somehow into the design and the aesthetic and the way we set out Manhattan. And then looking for opportunities for how we can change, how we can upgrade, how we can use the bones of an existing property and create something new. And what I do like, and what I do love about this owner and client is they're always up to revamp. So this salon, for example, we're turning into an 8-person bar, which will be open by the end of the year.
For those of you who are not sure, with Manhattan, there's 2 rooms on the side. One room called the Salon, which is this one, that they're changing to another bar within a bar. So it's quite cool. I think it's coming up next month, right? Actually, yeah.
So soft opening next month. And then, the important thing also is working with your operator and establishing a really clear brief and a clear operation brief and telling us what you're wanting to do. So, for example, part of the early brief was creating space for barrel-aged cocktails. And initially, that was just going to be in the back of house. So it was just going to be behind the pantry, we'll do this for barrel aging. Whereas, once they mentioned it, we were like, well, we've got these weird veranda type elements outside, these weird pagodas. So let's turn it into an actual sort of rick house and an actual room for this and celebrate it and bring it right to the entry, right to the floor, and make it one of your signatures, which it has become.
Yeah, so on this part, you've seen how having a clear vision and stuff gets you building a bar that will be able to fully accomplish the dreams you have. But this is where things start to go wrong. And it starts with when things are not aligned with the vision you have and communicating it to designers. A lot of times you have something in your head, but you're unable to communicate it properly, and when they give you the product back, it doesn't look good. And then what happens is this way there's a breakdown of usually the project and feelings. Or when everyone has a different idea of what the venue is. Like Matt mentioned earlier, with Martindale spearleading the project, he had the owners on board, the beverage program on board, the designers on board, and the consultants on board. When you guys have formed this golden thread and tie it all together, it's where you guys can kind of go towards the same destination, the same end game as well. And this is, I think, one of the most important things. Not everybody has hotel money. Some of us have opened bars on a budget. Some of the biggest bars in the world that you know, like Two Schmucks or even Sego House, built their bars by hand. Is there a way you can still design a bar with that limited budget and make it successful? Yes. You just need to know how to maximize those resources. One, time. How often people forget that time is one of the most important resources. If you talk about Singapore, for example, when you open a bar, you have maybe for rental, you have 3 months of free rental. Anything after that, you start paying money. So if you're building a bar with your hands from the beginning and you don't fix it within the 3 months of free rent, you're going to end up losing close to a few tens of thousands of dollars just because you're slow. So you got to be very careful with your time. And cash flow. Cash flow is something that if you don't have it, you're going to find yourself in very precarious situations. So working with the right investors and finding the right people who can support your vision is very important. And last but not least, the people, the resources. If you have a bar that's built in hospitality, but you don't have the personality to fill it, you are not going to achieve the bars you're looking for. And last but not least, ambitions don't meet the market demand. Meaning to say, we had a bar that closed down within a year. We wanted an all-day drinking, coffee, and restaurant venue. But when we opened it up, it was in a period of time where nobody wanted a bar like that. And within very quickly in 1 year, we realized it wasn't the place for it. Neither was it the time. Now, there are venues that do that and they're hugely successful. So you have to be very careful with your ambition as well.
I think just one comment on the first point is, you have to trust your own vision. I think when you start doubting that vision, there's something wrong. So, it's part of that sort of the early process. You really have to have it crystal clear in your head. I think the worst thing as a designer is someone to say, just build it and we'll make it work later. It doesn't really work like that, and it leads to disappointment. This is a kind of sad story for me. This is like one of the most beautiful bars that we worked on called Idlewild, which was at the Intercontinental here. And unfortunately, it didn't work. It was a live music bar, and I think fundamentally, it was misaligned with the market. I don't think there was really the demand for it. It was popular when it started, but it couldn't sustain it. And I feel, it was something that was heavy on resources. So having this band, like a stable band, having them every night, and then it just didn't work for them.
The band, they flew in from parts of New York and around Asia. It cost them close to $3,000, no sorry, $2,500 a night. So that's a heavy cost already. So if you're not making more than $2,500, you're already losing money just straight off of the music alone, not including your staffing, your utilities, and obviously your cost of drinks. So that was unfortunately one of the few stories that didn't go very well.
And I think from a design point of view, one thing we learned was, live music is fantastic, but in a small venue, it stops everything. So it kind of stops every other energy, every other interaction, and everyone stops and watches. So it's, it was quite an interesting learning for me just how big an impact it has into a room.
So yeah, so to succeed, what are you really looking for again? To summarize what we've been normally speaking is, clearly you need to have a very clear shared vision. It's almost telepathic to some extent. You and the designers have to know that you're achieving the same goal and not waver from it. And number two, resources, time, money, and people. And last but not least, you need the team to achieve this. If you have one person that is not aligned with your vision, there's a very strong chance that they will go away. And we're not talking about your bartenders or your managers. We're talking about people like your investors. Because you invest money from different people, they want to see that money come back. The moment they see that the vision is not getting, they're not achieving what they're looking for, they may pull that cash out. And then now you're in a predicament. When that happens, what do? You take money from the bank, or do you close? Or do you hope and pray that it works out in the next few months? So these are the three things that you always have to keep reminding yourself over and over again. Because sometimes you have really, really, really cool concepts, but it's just not the right time for it. Keep it and execute later. And I think that when we talk about basically, I guess what we do in Nighthawk. Let's talk about the biggest success one first. This is we forgot about this one. This is the biggest success. Yeah, this is nice.
So 6 years ago, we worked on Atlas Bar, and I think back to those main points and the secret sauce, it really is about clarity of vision. So in terms of Atlas Bar, we took it on as almost like a conservation project because it did exist as a wine bar before, but then with Proof, the idea came about to create this huge gin tower, the existing wine tower. We created further steps. We created a beautiful champagne room, and really what we wanted to do was celebrate an existing space, but really amp it up and make it something very special. And its success is a testament to, again, clarity of vision and a clear vision of the owner.
Cool. Alright, sorry, Nighthawk first. But yeah, so had any of you guys been to Nighthawk yet? Okay, good. The rest of you guys, fuck if you've been doing that. It's a tiny bar. If you are my size or smaller than me, it fits about 25, maybe 30 plus standing. If you are a little bit bigger, it fits maybe 22 to 25, tiny. And we realized that one of the biggest issues that we have at the bar is the size. And when we were designing it, we knew that was one problem to face. And number two, what the hell are we going to put in a small ass bar? So thankfully for myself, I'm a little bit more, I guess, I won't say spiritual, but I believe in serendipity. So during COVID, during the time where everybody was staying at home and hoping for it to blow over, I was going out taking pictures of Singapore looking like a deserted place. Because this is the first time you ever see Singapore and nobody around. And this created a sense of urban animation. And one of the few artists that I took a lot of inspiration for creating these pictures was a gentleman known as Albert Hopper, from a very famous art piece known as the Nighthawks. So I realized that one of the best things we do in cocktail bars specifically is that we're able to take people from any major city in the world, put them in a space, and kind of take them away from reality. Create a space where they feel like at the time and moment, that's the only experience that they need to have. And I tried to recreate that using inspiration from pictures, but also to try to create it into an actual concept for a bar. So I'm going to play you guys a video. This was the actual video that was submitted for 50 Best Bar Design. I hate my voice, so excuse my voice, but we explained the intricacies of how the design came about, some of the things that we put in that was aesthetically pleasing, but also more so, apart from the form, heavily on the functionality of it, from the bar stations that we have to the hidden cabinets. So I think it's the best way to summarize it.
Inspired by the emotions and aesthetics evoked by Albert Hopper's mid-century masterpiece, Nighthawks, Nighthawk is an immersive cocktail bar that tackles the paradox of blending the past, present, and future into an intimate and impressive venue.
Hence, we decided on a retro-modern look that is laced with futuristic touches. Some examples include sunken seats that is synonymous with retro-modernism designs and having chrome linings and mirrors all over the venue. The bar is also open to allow guests who are seated to be at eye level with the standing bartenders.
Each challenge we faced was space, and we tackled that by being creative with our design. For example, rotating chairs to allow sitting perspective changes, hidden cabinets, and sliding doors to name a few.
Each sun showcases a room that further reiterates the bar's concept of time conversions.
Starting with a flipboard that changes with the music and self-designed messages, a smart mirror that we use to highlight events and show animations, and also smart LED lights that we can control the color, lumen, and even sync to the beat of the music playing. As for the bar stations themselves, everything is modular to equip the bartender with everything they may need, and also for easy cleaning. Each station is equipped with a rinser, foot pedal sink, a garnish rack that fits standard hotel pens, ice well, and a recessed speed rack to eliminate the issues of getting clothes stuck against bottles. Each station also comes with its own refrigerator or freezer. Pre-batch bottles are placed conveniently behind stations to allow for quick access. As space is an issue, we use a thrill system to chill our glassware instead of a freezer. This system uses the liquid from sealed tanks to chill the glass. We also use a 2-tap saline water system to produce chilled and filtered still and carbonated water to reduce the need to store and chill soda water and or potable water.
But yeah, so that's a tiny bar. So that's what we do at Nighthawk now. And the only reason for it and its success so far is because I had investors who were very, very open-minded about the things you wanted to do. Because if you told somebody you wanted to open a bar based on a painting, most people think you're crazy. But they actually supported it, and I had to show them a PowerPoint slide actually on the bar I wanted to open up. And with the designers who used to work for Paul and Matt that we worked with, I gave them a mood board of Pinterest, slides, sketches, menus, and concept of cocktails, so they could really, really understand the things I was going for. And I think that was one of the real reasons why we kind of succeeded in that. Yeah.
I have a question, Peter.
Right on.
Give me the first one. So, I think 2 questions about Nighthawk. Congratulations, won a World Design Award a few weeks ago. Firstly, what sort of key lessons have you learned from working with a designer and going through that process? And the second one is, I think it's been a year, a bit more? Yeah, a bit more than a year. So what would you do differently if you were doing it now?
Yeah, so how we worked with the designers and what's the most important thing was really communication. The reason why I gave them a whole bunch of stuff was to make sure that they had this clear vision of what I wanted. It's very hard to convey a feeling. You can only tell people this is something that I want and I feel, but if you could show it to them visually, making something tangible, and they get it, and you synchronize that concept, it, like I said, serendipity, I believe in it, and they got it. When they came back with the first initial draft, and I saw the initial design, I'm like, yeah, you guys got it, you know what I'm talking about. And they wrote a 1-paragraph blurb of what Nighthawk would be, and I knew that they got it. And everything from then on just went on smoothly. The initial communication phase actually took 3 months of back and forth for idea design, but the first draft came within 2 weeks. So we spent more time rather than, oh, could you change that material to something else? We spent more time trying to really get the idea across before actually getting the draft. And when we got it, it just flowed. So simple. What would I do differently? I would open a slightly bigger bar. If I could afford it, I would open a slightly bigger bar. But I don't know, I think we did a very good job with kind of achieving what we wanted to do in a very tiny space. Maybe I would choose some material changes here and there that we learn works better over the long run. But other than that, we already have it planned in our timeline for a mini renovation at the end of the 5th year. So for example, our floors, we're using a particular material that's used in hospitals that is sanitary, easy to clean, and can be stripped off and removed. It's already getting a bit dirty, so by probably sometime end of this year or next year, I'm just going to remove the whole thing and put it back in. even the wood that we use for the carpentry, we use a slightly cheaper wood so that we could replace it after 3 years because condensation from the aircon, obviously alcohol spillage and stuff like that will cause warping of it. So we kind of predicted that. So we use a material that we can kind of strip off and put it back on easily. Yeah, question.
Sorry, I had a voice.
No worries.
Hi. What are the challenges for you in terms of do you take bookings first of all, and if you do group sizes, because we do have a 25-seater little bar in New Zealand, and we have a few challenges with that. How do you structure that?
So very good question. So prior to opening Nighthawk, I actually had a bar called Junior the Pocket Bar, had 10 seats. One of the things we realized very quickly, and it depends on your market actually, in Singapore, the problem with Singaporean drinkers in general is that they like making reservations, but they don't like showing up for it. So straight off the bat, we're like, fuck you and your reservations. We are just going to do walk-ins only, right? And we encourage people to call us if they want to come in. And if you're nearby, and Singapore is small, we have that advantage of proximity within bars. If you are at another bar nearby and you're coming in 15 minutes, what we do is we hold that seat for you, right? The reason why we don't do reservations is like this. Imagine you're someone coming in from 5:30 to 7. The next reservation is at 7:30. You have half an hour of a window where you're not making any money at all. And for 25 seats, every seat that you have is revenue, right? And it can go as much as changing 5% of the entire net's revenue just for one seat for half an hour. So we don't want to take the risk. And it's come to the point that we've trained our clientele to understand that if you want to have seats, come earlier. Like for example, last night we had a guest shift from Edinburgh. We knew it was going to be busy. So my regulars came in at 8:30 before the shift started at 9, just to have some seats as well. But we are also privileged to some extent is that we do allow standing. So if people are comfortable squeezing, we're cool. And we also have a cafe outside that if they really want to, they can sit outside and have a drink, but the ambience is not the same. For group sizes, the biggest group size we've taken in is about 16 because we have a booth seat that we specifically had for bigger groups of between 8 to 12, and we have a bar seat that arcs around there with chairs that can rotate. So you're facing the bar with the booth there, but if you are in the group, you just spin around, and now you're together. So we kind of built the bar to be very modular in that sense because we knew that sometimes you have parties of 7 and 8. And I'm guilty of bringing people of 7 and 8 as well, so I understand it's important to have a space that way as well. Any questions?
Hi, sorry, I'm coming from a consultant perspective. I'm an independent consultant. So I just recently actually opened up this bar called Social Bar and Bistro in Republic Plaza. So it's near UOB Tower there. So as you mentioned just now, in terms of like having the day, in terms of day, coffee and tea and lunch, and then turning into a bar, a cocktail bar by night. That's what actually I'm doing right now. What would you say if there's any challenges that would come to in the future that would happen?
This one Matt can also help a little bit. So it's creating a room that can function as both. Very quickly, like we have a cafe and a bar as well. The business model is amazing. You pay the same rent, you earn cash in the day for the cafe, you earn cash in the night for the bar. But the one clear thing is that the market, the people that are drinking, consumers, are very different people. People who are drinking my cafe or eating and having coffee in my cafe are not necessarily the people that come to my cocktail bar at night. So if you want to do that, you need to have a space that's able to create an ambience for both. You cannot have a sexy looking bar style venue and expect it to be a conducive place for a coffee place in the day. Are there solutions to it? I think Matt probably have a better example, so I'm going to pass it on to him. But the one thing you need to know is you need to be able to create that space for that specific clientele. You cannot have a one-off fit all place, unfortunately.
Sorry, before you answer my question, because the place I've already done and built was opened up yesterday actually. Yesterday was the first opening.
It's too late now, man!
Yeah. So my question for that in fact actually is how would you actually target the market audience in terms of how to segregate between those two? What would be the best marketing effect?
Well, unfortunately, like for stuff like that, you can't really force to segregate the market. The consumers choose where they want to go. And in a highly competitive market like Singapore, you kind of have to, first, that's what we talked about at the beginning, you need to know the target audience you're aiming for. It's part of the secret sauce. And then you create the venue to cater to that group. Like, sometimes you get lucky, I'm hoping you'll be lucky, where you have a space that just works. you're in the CBD area, you might be able to get sell takeaway coffees and all that. It might get good enough revenue to justify the cafe, but more often not, it won't. We had a place called Cracker Jack that had exactly that issue. CBD, 1 year we closed down. We didn't have the money to do a nice decoration. We didn't have the money to hire people like Matt to do it for us, so we did it ourselves. We didn't do a good job. And people were not clear of the concept that we had. The coffee drinkers didn't see it as a cafe. The restaurant goers didn't see it as a restaurant. And the bar people didn't see it as a bar. So what we had was a confusion of an identity of a venue. And that was the biggest downfall for us. So if you have a venue right now that wants to pander to both, my advice would be to pick the one that makes the most sense to you. And then everything else is just subsidiary money. Questions? The guy back raising his hand first.
Hi there. So basically, in terms of like small bars, do you have any advice on kind of maximizing how much you get per clientele? Especially in Singapore, where I would say compared to other markets, it's fairly low per person.
Yeah.
But how would you actually advise on trying to maximize on a small city like Junior or Network as well?
So, quality of the spending power and speed. So one of the ways we do it is we realize that our average spend per check is higher. And we're not the most expensive bar in Singapore, to be honest. There are a lot of bars that are way more expensive than us. But what we do is that we create drinks that are a bit more approachable, that people can finish up a little bit quicker. That's where the speed comes in. And the reason why our bars are set up in the sense that it's like a cockpit is so that my bartenders minimize movement, so that they can execute drinks quicker. The reason for it is because the quicker you sell drinks, the quicker people drink it, the more money you make. Also, we have a very polite way of kind of weeding out the Instagrammers. People come in to take pictures, like, I'm in this bar, and posting the stories and shit. We have a way of being very nice to them, like saying, like, you had one drink in an hour and 15 minutes. I have people waiting to come in. Do you mind giving them the opportunity to have experience in IHOP if you're already done? And we send them a little cheeky, thank you so much for understanding. So we do have to kick people out to some extent. We don't like to impose sitting timings because there are people who sit down for 3 hours and go absolutely to town. I love those guys, right? But the average spend per check is what we do. We have an average price for most of our items, so we never earn less than that, and that keeps our revenue a little bit at that point. But on top of that, what we do to protect ourselves is that we diversify our revenue stream. So I don't just depend on the drinks that I make in the bar. I do off-site events. I work with a lot of brands to do stuff like that. I do a bit of private client sales of spirits for allocation. And I do a lot of site consultancies as well that comes back to the company. Because if you're dealing, especially if you're a bar owner, dealing with a small bar, what happens is no matter how full out you are in that 25-seater, and even you're open 24 hours a day, it's only so much money you can earn. You need to find different ways to get income in, or you're just going to be stuck with that cap amount. So that's what we do, and that's our strategy in IHOP.
Thank you.
Hi. So money matters. So for the small bar boutique, let's say 25 cents, just like for the example, how much does it cost for until you can really open the bar, excluding the price for the employee and the like gas and
So just fit out costs. We splurged a bit. We used better materials. As Matt can attest to this, it's like sometimes there's an option between the two. That's where you need to speak to your designers. There are substitutes for certain things, right? We always have this things, the perfect bar design, and then the compromise, which is usually what you end up with. So for ours, because we did spend a lot of money, because we felt that part of the things that we talked about earlier, knowing your market demand, we wanted to create a bar that now creates an atmosphere, a different type of atmosphere in Singapore. Because we have a lot of good bars, and they do a lot of cool things. But I felt that right now that what is missing is that it's a bar that creates a sense of escapism. Hence, IHOP was created. So we knew that part of that aesthetics was one of the key points. So it cost us, plus the fit out without the stocks alone, was close to about 110 Singapore dollars, 1,000 Singapore dollars. Yeah, so 110,000 Singapore dollars just for fit out alone.
That sounds like a bit of a bargain, but I'd say one thing with that is, you know, importantly is to sort of map out the customer journey and experience, because I think, you know, the budget is always an issue. It's always about the money. What we like to sort of, where we start our VE process is, what are your touch points? points. What's the customer actually physically touching? What are they seeing? And then those things in the background can sort of blur a little bit.
What I mean by touch points as well, so you saw the stuff in the videos. We have a lot of random things that people keep their eyes on, so to speak. Because even though you're drinking, you will lose attention to your friend for a bit, and you wander into the venue. So we like the things all around the venue that people will slowly notice over time. For example, our walls are textured. People don't realize till the second and third visit. Where we put below the bar is actually cushioned, so you don't hit your knees on it, but it creates texture as well, that gives an aesthetic look to it as well. And then a lot of mirrors reflection to make the space seem bigger than it is. So everybody tells me this when you walk into the bar, it looks bigger in pictures. And that's because we did it on purpose. In order, if you were to create a small bar and it feels cramped, you already lose out on one of the main things of comfort in the bar. You can, if it's busy and it's cramped, sure, people get it, they understand it. But if they're already sitting down, there's not a lot of people and they feel cramped, then you're failing somewhere in your design. More questions? All good? Awesome, well, thank you guys for your attention. I think we run out of time, actually. Yes, okay. But yeah, but anytime you guys are free, I think you guys can take Matt's details as well. If you guys are looking to design bars, this is the Matt. But I'm walking around all day. If you have questions for me. Thank you very much.
In one more action is starting to open their own bars, hopefully this talk is clear the path